Radical Islam can't take over by itself. It needs the support of weak governments. Yes, you heard me. Weak, meek people who allow for radicalization to become a norm in a country is how something like that happens. It doesn't just grow out of nowhere. I'll tell you this much. If I had somebody in my house who was becoming a radical, there would be such strong consequences on that person that it would never happen. It would never happen. It would be kicked out of my house before something like that could ever come to be. And yet, for some reason, we're looking at the radical Islamization and we're like, how is this happening? And we're forgetting to pay attention to the people who are allowing it to happen. The media, the weak people online who are afraid of standing up. Not us, of course. We do not do that. And the governments who are allowing this kind of stuff. Now, who does better than talk about this than Konstantin Kisin? He's our favorite. You know we love him. The Trigonometry podcast, so good. So freaking good. We love him. We love everything about him. And here he does an absolutely amazing job at explaining why. Why are our governments allowing for this insanity? Why is the media allowing for this insanity? I mean, at this point, we're not just talking about like theoretical things that maybe could be perceived as racist. We're talking about Bondi Beach. Bondi? Somebody wrote on my thing how to spell it. Bondi Beach. Bondi Beach? Okay, doesn't really matter. Australia. The thing that happened in Australia. It's not just theoretical. It is grooming gangs, it's murders, it's slitting of throats, it's beheadings, it's problematic. Religious takeovers, harassments, rapes, etc. It's really, really, really becoming problematic. So you would think that people would see that as a response, be like, okay, maybe we should stop it. But there's something bigger going on. There's a reason why these people will not stop it. There's a reason why our governments are not showing up. Because look, here's the interesting thing. There are so many millions of us. I know I've only found a few thousand of you guys, but there are millions of us who know the truth, who can see it. And we'll find them. We're going to all connect. We're going to build such a strong community, and we're going to push back so freaking hard at these people. Just you wait. But we know and see, and we're an important voter base. So why isn't the government pandering to us? Yes, there are some governors that have understood. Well, again, there's a bigger reason for it. And we're about to find out exactly what it is. But first, make sure to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. I read all of your comments. I appreciate you so, so much. People who are interested in supporting our page behind the scenes. I am an independent journalist. I'm doing this without being paid an iota from anybody. I record this from my bedroom at home. And if you like what we're doing, check out our donation link or check out our merch website. We are so grateful to have you here. And it is people like you who keep this page going. So thank you for subscribing and sharing and commenting and just honestly spreading the love. We appreciate you. Let's see what Konstantin has to say for us.
Why they'll never be honest about Islamist violence.
Why they'll never be honest about Islamist violence.
Have you ever wondered why in the wake of every Islamist terrorist attack, our media and politicians bend over backwards to make the extraordinary claim that Islamism has nothing to do with Islam? The answer is a mixture of things, of course, but the central reason is easy to understand if you think about it logically. To avoid offending morons, let's not talk about people and talk about apples instead. As you know,
let's not offend the morons, everybody. We don't want to offend the morons.
There are red apples, green apples, and yellow apples. Let's imagine for a second that a small percentage of green apples are poisonous and can injure and kill people. It's difficult to distinguish the toxic green apples from the other green apples, which are perfectly peaceful, law-abiding, and so forth. Right. Now imagine that you're the public health authority whose job it is to protect the public. If your concern is solving the problem of the small minority of toxic green apples, you would immediately do a number of things. You might devote significant resources to identifying the toxic green apples and removing them from the supermarket shelves. You might commission thorough research into how and where the toxic green apples are grown. You might crack down very, very hard on anyone who knowingly participates in growing or distributing such apples. You might even say that while you are dealing with the problem of deaths caused by toxic green apples, bringing more green apples into the country is liable to worsen the public health crisis until suitable measures are identified which allow you to separate the bad green apples from the good ones.
I mean, what a crazy thought. If there's green apples out there which are killing people because they're poisonous, maybe we should stop eating the green apples, people. And maybe until we can figure out which green apples are poisonous, and we have a real system in place to tell us the difference between the poisonous and the non-poisonous, despite the fact that they may all potentially be poisonous. We don't know. We should just allow for people to keep on eating these apples. Because what bad could happen? What bad could happen from having poisonous apples in our surroundings? You tell me, what bad could happen? I can't think of anything. Poisonous apple actually sounds delightful.
This is how you would act if your primary concern was the safety of the public. But what if you, as the public health authority, had spent the preceding decades claiming that all apples are the same? That to suggest that a small minority of green apples are potentially toxic is fear-mongering and greenophobic. What if you'd been openly encouraging unfiltered importation of green apples and actively resisted calls to thoroughly check whether such apples are in fact digestible for your citizens? What if your mantra for the last 20 years had been that anyone who believes there may be significant variations between the toxicity of different types of apples is a bigot who must be suppressed for fear of emboldening the far right? If you were in fact responsible for the fact that people were now being killed on the streets of your country by the small minority of toxic green apples, would you not do everything in your power to explain that the diversity of apples is our greatest strength? That the toxicity of green apples has nothing to do with them being green? That any doctor who suggests that the government should carefully regulate the importation of green apples specifically is a racist? The central premise of our elite consensus is that we must continue to pretend that all apples are the same, no matter how many people pay for this lie with their lives.
So let's just make that very clear. Despite the fact that it is blatantly obvious what you do with a group of poisonous apples. Now again, keep in mind, these are poisonous apples that we know where they're coming from. And we could say, bye-bye, bye-bye, you're not allowed. But because there are a group of people in power who spent so long trying to convince us that we were nuts all of these years, the reason that we are having murders and terrorism and Islam infiltration into our systems and all of the problems that come with the woke mind virus, because they are infiltrating that as well, because they think that if we don't know what our own genders are, they'll be able to take us over easily better. And they are absolutely correct. So the woke virus, the right-wing virus, the Islam virus, all these things, the same source that are coming at us. And the solution to it would be the government's actually putting their foot down. But unfortunately, these egotistical maniacs are not capable of saying, I was wrong. I made a mistake. 2 lines. Very simple. I was wrong. I made a mistake. That's how big their egos are. That despite the fact that they have to look people in the eyes whose kids have been murdered, whose daughters have been raped, they have to look these people in the eye and they can't even admit to the fact that they made a mistake. People make mistakes. That's the irony of it. I believe that the people would be very forgiving of a government official who turned around and said, you know what? I've seen it. I've seen the ramifications. I made a guess 10 years ago. I was wrong. I pushed for something that was actually really dangerous. Now I'm fighting back. Do you know how unbelievably heroic that person would be? That's the irony of it. That the people, our people, would support such a person in mass. They would love such a person. Except for the fact that these people cannot, because of their egos, admit that they were wrong. They're so afraid of saying that, despite the fact that all of us are looking at them and can see so glaringly obviously that they are wrong, and that not only are they wrong, that their mistaken ideologies have endangered all of us. And just that simple line is so hard for them to say, that they're willing to stand up there looking like idiots, endanger the people, endanger their children, just so that they don't have to admit that they're wrong. I mean, isn't that unbelievably pathetic? Don't you find that to be just astoundingly pathetic? That when it's laid out in apples, it is so obvious to us, to everybody. It is so obvious that if somebody told you that the food in your fridge, that some of the food in your fridge had poison in it, that you would not eat it, and you would probably not trust that importer, and you would probably try and do everything to make sure that whoever is importing that kind of stuff stops it, doesn't bring that poison into your society. And you still have people out there trying to convince you that this isn't poison, that you're the problem. You're watching the people that you love around you drop dead. And they're telling you that there is no poison. You've just made it up because you're afraid. You're Islamophobic, darling. It's phobia. It's an irrational fear of an idea of a religion. That's what they're trying to tell us. We see the golden apples. We know that these green apples are poisonous. We all know it. We can see it. And they're standing there like the absolute twats that they are, and they think they can get away with us being idiots. Ridiculous. It makes me so mad. I'm so mad at it because it would be so easy to solve. All you would need is for these people who made those mistakes to turn around and say, we made a mistake. Let's change policy. But they can't and they won't because their own ego gets in the way. And the irony of it, that they just look so stupid anyway. And they'd look so much better. They'd be so much more respected. They just tried to help and tried to stop. Kudos out to that. Kudos. Oh my God, my words today are really struggling. Kudos to all those people out there who are standing up and who are saying things. But guys, when you give the green apple explanation, it's so glaringly obvious what is really going on. It's just so glaringly obvious. Don't let them make you feel like you're a bad person, that you're a racist, that you're Islamophobic. We all know. We all know when we hear of a terrorist attack on a bunch of Jews, like what we've seen right now in Boston, what we saw in Australia, what we're seeing in LA, what we're seeing in New York, what we're seeing in Amsterdam. We all know what these people believe. We all know what the poison is. We all know it. Unfortunately, there's this narrative online that they're trying to create that, like, no, real Islam is actually the Muslim guy who saved them. No. That is a guy who believes in Islam, and despite the fact that Islam tried to poison him, somehow his moral compass managed to fight back. He is not the norm. He is the exception to the norm, unfortunately. It's about time we all just recognize it. You wouldn't take a bite of a green apple if you knew that there was a chance that one of them was poison. You just wouldn't. And the fact that one person out there took a bite and it wasn't poisonous shouldn't convince you to try biting the others. It's poison, my friends, and we don't fuck with poison. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for your attention to this matter.